Today is Friday, July 31st, 2020. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered. St. Louis County's prosecutor says that he will not charge the former police officer who killed Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri, after a second investigation. Black church leaders sent an open letter to Joe Biden saying he must choose a black woman to be his vice president. We'll talk with Pastor Barbara Skinner. Jared Kushner had a secret plan for coronavirus testing. That blew up. What happened to that? Georgia Democratic Senator Vernon Jones says he's supporting Donald Trump for president. And in Alabama, a Republican lawmaker has resigned as a pastor of a church and was celebrating the birthday of a former KKK leader. Plus, St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner is under attack. She'll join us to talk about why. Plus, a new round of anti-Trump viral ads to show you. And Jody Wiley is in the house to talk about her latest project. It is time to bring the funk. Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. Yeah, it's Uncle Roro, y'all. Yeah, it's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
All right, folks, St. Louis County Prosecutor Wesley Bell announced that he will not charge former police officer Darren Wilson for the murder of Michael Brown. Wilson, a white officer, shot and killed Michael Brown on August 9, 2014. Bell, an African-American recently elected, reasoned that after an independent and in-depth review of the evidence, they couldn't prove when Darren Wilson shot Michael Brown that he committed murder or manslaughter under Missouri law. Our panel, Rob Richardson, host of Disruption Now podcast, Derek Holley, president, Reaching America, and political analyst, Lauren Victoria Burke, who writes for NNPA, the National Newspaper Publishers Association. Rob, I want to start with you. When you look at this decision here made by Wesley Bell, African-American DA who was elected, still does not satisfy folks there, but he clearly stated they could not determine if it was murder or manslaughter under state law.
Yeah, I mean, I have some empathy for the brother. It is hard, even though he probably knew that he would like to be able to charge him. Doing that, then not being able to follow through on it would have been even worse. So, I mean, you get to these situations, you can ask Marilyn Mosby, if you can ask Kim Gardner, you could ask lots of people who have been in this situation who want to do more, but the system limits you. And the fact is, this was a while ago, and the evidence might not be there. That doesn't mean, and I think he said this, that doesn't mean that that officer is innocent. That means when they go to court, they wouldn't be able to prove their case. And it's even more difficult, if we're honest, to prove the case when you're trying to get an officer convicted. And you need to, sometimes you got them completely on tape. You've seen everything, and people still don't get convicted. Here we don't even have the tape, if I remember correctly, from 2014. So we don't have all we have is this officer's account and the eyewitness's account, but we don't really have enough probably to charge the officer. I wish they did, but they don't. And that doesn't mean this officer is a good officer. That doesn't mean this officer did what he was supposed to do. What that means is there's not enough evidence to move forward with the case. But I still think you have a prosecutor that wants to do it. That's the difference. Before you had a prosecutor that was doing everything possible to blame the victim. This is not the case here. And so I still think they're getting more justice than they would have gotten. And I think officers there will be on guard because they know that they're not going to have a prosecutor that's just going to go along with everything that they say, which is what you want in a prosecutor.
Lauren Victoria Burke.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Wesley Bell was in large part elected because of the death of Michael Brown. I'm sure that people expected, some people are going to expect a different decision in this case, and I can't say that I blame them. It really matters who's in these positions. I totally understand the theory that, if you bring it to court and it doesn't work, then the disappointment is even greater. But because his election was so much about the death of Michael Brown, which, of course, really sort of kicks off a big part of what we know now as the Black Lives Matter movement. Obviously, Michael Brown's death and Trayvon Martin's. you almost wish you had brought the case, because that death really makes no sense. The circumstances around it, some of the videotape that we see of Michael Brown in a convenience store beforehand, what he's doing, etc., doesn't comport with what ends up happening that causes his death. Also, the actions of the police after his death. I know this has nothing to do specifically with a criminal prosecution, but leaving his body out in the street, uncovered for hours, I think was a thing that was meant to send a signal to that community. And, until we get real about really confronting some of these issues around police violence, we're going to have sort of the same sort of result. And part of that is sort of challenging some of the institutional hurdles and the institutional problems that we've seen over and over again with regard to this issue and with regard to police violence.
One of the things that this also makes clear, Derek, that the public now, I think, understands a lot more is really how the law is stacked, frankly, against citizens and in the favor of police officers. You look at some of these laws where, where police officers can obviously use deadly force. In some places, it's a matter of how many feet a person is from them. And we've talked to, in fact, when Eric Holder was Attorney General, one of the things that he said is that that the Congress needed to modify the law because the standard was so high, even when it came to civil rights abuses, as one of the reasons why they brought few cases against cops on the federal level.
Yeah, I'm baffled by this one, Roland. I agree with Lori and Ron on a lot of things they said. And you look at the tapes that that did come out about Michael Brown, and it seemed clear enough that, a conviction could come with this case right here. But then, Roland, I look at what has happened, and did we see everything? Because here we have a prosecutor who ran on the platform after this situation happened. And there was even one parent, I think it was his parent or an uncle, who stormed out of the courtroom, was like, this will be your last term in office. I mean, people are furious about this. So I'm wondering if there could be something else that we haven't seen, because to have an independent counsel come in and do an investigation, that was 3 different investigations go down, and they couldn't determine that this cop there was any wrongdoing.
Well, first you got to remember, we didn't have a tape. We did not have a tape.
That's what I'm trusting.
That was first. Wilson was not wearing a body camera. So we actually don't have a recording of the shooting. The video that was released actually was video from a convenience store where the convenience store person said Michael Brown grabbed some cigarettes, and the person said, "Oh, he was stealing that." That's what we have. And so I think one of the things that the Michael Brown case, obviously the other cases that took place, Eric Garner and so many others, that was one of the reasons why you had such a push for body cameras, so the public, prosecutors, and others can be able to actually see what happened and hear the conversations. And so that's one of the issues here. And so bottom line is, if you can only, and you got to remember, one of the other issues I think a lot of people are also learning, and we had the police chief from Durham on, who leads Noble. One of the other problems when it comes to cops is they literally have laws and procedures set up to where they don't have to give an investigative account until later. In fact, some of them can actually review the witness statements from witnesses before they even give their comment. In Georgia, until they changed the law, a police officer who was being investigated by a grand jury actually got to sit in the grand jury proceedings to hear what witnesses said against him or her before they testified. Now, grand jury proceedings are supposed to be secret. So that's my point. One of the things that we have learned over the last several years after these spate of cases has been how the laws have been so positioned in favor of cops that you barely have any shot at being able to have justice when it's set up to have an officer get off every time.
Exactly. I'll just say one really quick thing on that.
Hold on one second. Hold on. Rob and Derek.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, because the points that are brought up, that it would have been nice to have justice on this, and I know a lot of people expected that to happen. Here's the thing, though. This is one person one prosecutor, which has a lot of power. But if you can talk to that city council, they need to reform those contracts. They need to look at qualified immunity. They need to make sure that the police don't have so much power that this prosecutor can actually do his job. And this was done years before. We're talking about 2014 when the evidence was already set up. And so he could have brought that case and it would have been worse off. I think actually the family would have just gone through more trauma. He would not have been able to prove his case. And it's unfortunate, but the result shouldn't be not to give up. It should be those that, okay, can we make sure we elect more city council people to hold these people accountable? It's a system-wide effort. It's not going to be one person. It's not going to be one time. It's a continuous long-term fight, and that's how people have to look at this.
Derek, go ahead.
I was going to say, the way I read the article, actually yesterday when it came out on AP, I was like, wow, I couldn't believe that this has happened. But the way I understood it, the prosecutor brought in his own independent independent investigation on this thing. And so that's why I'm trying to understand what happened or what evidence did he not have in order to see that this, to determine any kind of wrongful doing from this cop who shot Michael Brown.
Well, one of the things that we have seen, which was the case with Cuyahoga County there in Cleveland with the Tamir Rice case, how the prosecutor there acted more like the defense attorney. Same thing that happened in Staten Island with Eric Garner. Same thing that happened in the case of Ahmaud Arbery with those first two district attorneys. And so one of the reasons we have seen this increase in the election of progressive district attorneys is because we've had DAs for decades operate as if they are not on the side of police officers. That
pretty much
you basically were fighting the cop and the DA, as opposed to the district attorney saying, my job is to look at the evidence, not say I believe you over you. I need to assess what's in front of me, make my decision. And guess what? That DA in Cuyahoga County in Cleveland lost in his Democratic primary. That DA in St. Louis lost to Wesley Bell. We've seen other DAs, we're seeing losing these races because they have sided more with cops as opposed to really looking at it with the people. And Lauren, that's what people simply want is they want to be able to trust that the district attorney, a lawyer, is going to make the right decision as opposed to, oh no, a cop? Hey, buddy, we're on your side.
Yeah, and I think the fact that, let's be real, I mean, this is a historic moment in racial justice. Michael Brown's death is a historic moment. Now, I'm not saying you should bring a prosecution because it's a historic moment, but yeah, you can bet that family members were storming out of the courtroom because Bob McCullough leaving office and Wesley Bell getting into that office was a huge, huge change, and people expect that to mean something. And to me, if he's going to make the same decisions as Bob McCullough, what was the point of this? Is where people start getting into this thing of, and I'm not saying I agree with it, of why are we voting? Because I'm not saying that it would have been easy. We know it would not have been easy. It's traditionally never been easy to prosecute a law enforcement officer. Everybody knows that the bar is extremely high, and the rules are set up for them to effectively get away with murder and not be prosecuted for it. But this case was not only a historic case, but it made no sense from any narrative, from any standpoint, that an 18-year-old being stopped in the street for jaywalking with absolutely zero criminal record, zero suspensions from school, ends up getting shot. What was it? 6 or 7 times in the middle of the street in broad daylight. I mean, so I think that people who are, storming out of the courtroom, I'm agreeing with them about storming out of the courtroom.
First of all, you got to remember, there was no trial. Remember, there was no trial here. Remember, the district attorney had that big announcement at nighttime announcing he was not filing charges. So there was never a trial in the case of Mike Brown.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
So people were angry. That's what they were angry about. They continue. But again, remember, it was 6 years ago. That was 6 years ago next month. But what that case did, it added to people really beginning to understand all of these different laws, because we saw Eric Garner in New York We saw John Crawford III there in Ohio. We saw Michael Brown. And then every time we saw one of these cases, it was another example, another example. And Derek, that's why all of these cases is what has led us to this point of people saying defund the police. By folks saying you can't just continue to let police run rampant. And so it was body cameras, it was dash cams, it was civilian review boards. And so this case and others really put us to the point where we are today for folks to say there has to be a massive re-examination of law enforcement in the United States to make sure these things don't happen again. Derek first.
Agreed. Still don't understand how this independent investigation that the prosecutor brought in didn't find anything. But I agree with you, Michael Brown. It was his case, like you said, it really sparked this national, this national movement, I think. And while it went away, because it was 6 years ago, I think he was the start of it. But the whole thing of defund the police, I think the narrative in terms of what really needs to be done, it goes out the window with the whole defund the police, because to a lot of other people who don't watch this show or agree with everything that's said, what is said on this show, would think that defund the police means exactly that: get rid of the police department. And we have heard in some instances, like Minneapolis, that is what defund the police means: get rid of the entire police department. Now, you and I know, we've had this conversation on this show, it means in certain areas, reappropriating funds to certain areas. So when there's a need, not necessarily for a police officer, but some mental health involvement, then maybe you can de-escalate some of the situations that are taking place when the police shows up,
right,
particularly in black neighborhoods.
Yeah, I mean, the issue with this brother, with this prosecutor, I want people to make sure that we're at least looking at not just this case. This is important. I understand why it is, but it's not just also holding police officers accountable. It's also, how is that prosecutor using his discretion? Now, if he's prosecuting young brothers and sisters at the same rate the old prosecutor was, and he's not having any empathy for the situations people go through, then I would say make your change and go ahead and march forward. But I don't think you can judge you can't judge him by just this one moment, given how hard it would have been to put this case forward. I believe that it'd be very hard to not only prove your case, you probably couldn't have done it. And you can't bring a case just to prove a point. You need to have some ability to win. And you go out there and fight if you have some ability to win. The second part is, yes, defund the police. I want to get on this really quick. I actually think it's not a good frame. I wouldn't frame the narrative that way. I know why people do, and I get it, and I understand why it became popular and why it's easy to hold on to. But when you're explaining, you're losing. And people do believe that narrative, and it's better to say we're reforming the police. We don't need to have police level funding that we have, because you got whole cities that haven't cut anything and they keep ramping up their police department. People are more safe, but they have more, but police have more funding, even when that's not where the funding should go. So we should reform funding. But people hear that statement, they're like, oh, they just want to get rid of all police. And some people may want that, but my guess is the majority of Americans probably don't. So we do need to, I think, figure out how we frame the narrative in a way that can actually win.
Lauren.
Yeah, I get that. Obviously, all of these cases are very difficult. Nobody brings a case to make some sort of, generally speaking, political statement. I would just argue that the circumstances of Michael Brown's death were extremely unusual, to say the least. And clearly something was wrong there. Clearly something was out of order, that somebody gets shot to death by the police the way that he was shot to death, and nobody pays price for it. I mean, at some point that's got to end, and the only way that ends is somebody stepping forward into a difficult prosecution, to be sure. But at some point, that's how change happens. You've got to step forward into that, or we're dealing with the same thing, and we're dealing with the same attitude of, I can do this and walk away, and then nothing happens.
All right, folks, let's go to our next story. According to the CDC today, there are 4,405,932 cases of COVID-19 in the United States. A total of 150,283 patients have died. Now, this spring, a team working under Donald Trump's son-in-law, Jared Kushner, produced a plan for an aggressive, coordinated national COVID-19 testing plan that was supposed to have brought the pandemic under control. After assembling a team that came up with this plan, Kushner then decided, okay, we're just going to scrap it. Now, today on Capitol Hill, you, of course, had all of the drama on Capitol Hill. You were dealing with Dr. Anthony Fauci testifying, and then Jim Jordan was his, usual making an ass out of himself. And so just listen to some of the back and forth that was going on in this hearing. Go ahead, y'all.
Do protests increase the spread of the virus?
Do protests increase the spread of the virus? I think I can make a general statement.
Well, 500,000 protesters on June 6th alone.
Yeah.
I'm just asking that number of people. Does it increase the spread of the virus?
Crowding together, particularly when you're not wearing a mask, contributes to the spread of the virus.
Should we limit the protesting?
I'm not sure what you mean. How do we say limit the protesting?
Should government limit the protesting?
I don't think that's relevant to.
Well, you just said if it increases the spread of the virus. I'm just asking, should we limit it?
Well, I'm not in a position to determine what the government can do in a forceful way.
Well, you make all kinds of recommendations. You make comments on dating, on baseball, on everything you can imagine. I'm just asking you. You just said that protests increase the spread. I'm just asking you, should we try to limit the protests?
No, I think I would leave that to people who have more of a position to do that. I can tell you.
Government stopping people from going to church, Dr. Fauci?
Yeah.
Last week in the Calvary Chapel case, 5 liberals on the Supreme Court said it was okay for Nevada to limit church services. Justice Gorsuch said it best. He said there's no world in which the Constitution permits Nevada to favor Caesar's Palace over Calvary Chapel. I'm just asking, is there a world where the Constitution says you can favor one First Amendment liberty, protesting, over another, practicing your faith?
I'm not favoring anybody over anybody. I'm just making a statement that's a broad statement that avoid crowds of any type, no matter where you are, because that leads to the acquisition and transmission. And I don't judge one crowd versus another crowd. When you're in a crowd, particularly if you're not wearing a mask, that induces the spread.
It's a simple question, doctor. Should we limit the protests? Government is obviously limiting people going to church. And look, there's been no violence that I can see at church. I haven't seen people during a church service go out and harm police officers or burn buildings. But we know that, for 63 days.
Rob, you're from Ohio. There's nothing like it. Jim Jordan's one of the biggest asses on Capitol Hill. Here's what's interesting about Jim Jordan's question. Should government limit protests? Government actually can't limit protests. The reason Fauci is making the statement is that actually people are assembling on their own. What government does, what government can do, like for instance, when government says we're closing the beaches, okay, government actually can't say, no, we're taking tickets. There are only going to be 50 people at this protest. That's really what Fauci was saying. Fauci was saying, see, Jordan wanted him to say no protest. That's what he said. He said, I'm saying no mass groups.
No, he made it clear. And Jim Jordan is he's an asshole. He's a lot of things, but he shouldn't be in office. And you would point out to me, he is from Ohio. I don't claim him, though. And some people do. He got elected somehow. I don't know. But he is trying to set up this false narrative. He's trying to get his base say they're trying to take away your right to go to church while they go out there and protest for crazy things like making sure black people's lives matter and don't get killed. And they're trying to rile up their base and set up like the government is trying to stop you from exercising your right, but letting those people exercise their right. We know what they're doing. And, we have to make sure people get out, vote, and end not only Trump, but Trumpism, which stands for this, which stands for dividing people along race, that says our lives doesn't matter. That's, I'm sure you talked about this. The current president occupant in the White House said he wants to delay the election. They want to just make up new rules. That's what they want to do.
Lauren, again, you're sitting here, and I'm looking at all these conservatives on social media. Oh, Fauci, he wouldn't say the words. He wouldn't say the words. The man said there should not be mass gathering of people anywhere because that is helping to spread the disease.
Yeah, what can you say, right? We're sitting here with 152,000 Americans dead in a pandemic. We have some of the worst rates of infection and death on the planet. Anthony Fauci has been a doctor his entire life, obviously worked on the AIDS crisis, obviously a renowned physician. And unfortunately, as part of his job, he has to sit and listen to stupid, inane questions by idiots that get elected to Congress from people who are dumb enough to vote for them. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to watch. It's particularly embarrassing and dangerous when we have, over 1 million people infected and over 152,000 dead and counting. And we don't know when that count ends. And so it's shameful, really. I mean, it doesn't get any worse than Jim Jordan and his idiot friends. It's just stupid. The fact that, you want to reroute the narrative, you want to make a YouTube tape for yourself, for your constituents to look at, or for you to put on your website, and that has become the reason that you sit in Congress. That has become the reason that you are questioning a physician that's trying to save lives in this country and waste everybody's time, waste that physician's time, waste precious time off the clock as people are dying. It doesn't get any more embarrassing. It doesn't get any more stupid. I do think we're probably going to see some sort of a wave election on November 3rd, because at some point, people have had enough. And when you have 40 million people who file for unemployment and this many people dead, maybe perhaps this is the moment. One could only hope so, because I don't know what else can happen to convince some of these people to stop voting for these idiots to come into Congress and sit and ask dumbass questions.
So hold on. So Derek, I'm about to show another idiot. This is really funny. So this guy, Blaine.
Why are these people idiots and Democrats not?
No, because I'm about to wait, because I'm about to explain to you. So here's a guy, Representative Blaine Luetkemeyer, whatever it is. He's a farmer. He later owned a bank and worked as an insurance agent. And so Fauci, who's a doctor, they're talking about hydrochloroquine. Listen to this exchange.
Things you made a comment a while ago with regards to hydroxychloroquine, and I have an article here that quotes the Henry Ford Health System, who did an extensive study on hydroxychloroquine, and they say that it significantly reduces the death rate of COVID patients. The study was highly analyzed by peer-reviewed, unlike many other studies, and quoting the executive officer said, as doctors and scientists, we look at the data for insight, and the data here is clear. There was a benefit to using the drug as a treatment for sick and hospitalized patients. And in talking with a lot of older doctors who have been around a while, and I trust their judgment and their use of hydroxychloroquine, they say that the initial studies didn't really use zinc with it, and they say that zinc is an enabler to be able to help hydroxychloroquine actually do its job of going after and reducing deaths in patients. Had a long conversation with a doctor earlier in the week, and he said, yes, as long as zinc is there, it really definitely does work. Without it, it's minimally effective. Would you like to comment on that?
Thank you for that opportunity to comment. The Henry Ford Hospital study that was published was a non-controlled retrospective cohort study that was confounded by a number of issues, including the fact that many of the people who were receiving hydroxychloroquine were also receiving corticosteroids, which we know from another study gives a clear benefit in reducing deaths with advanced disease. So that study is a flawed study, and I think anyone who examines it carefully is that it is not a randomized placebo-controlled trial.
It's peer-reviewed.
It doesn't matter. You can peer review something that's a bad study, but the fact is it is not a randomized placebo-controlled trial. The point that I think is important, because we all want to keep an open mind, any and all of the randomized placebo-controlled trials, which is the gold standard of determining if something is effective, none of them had shown any efficacy for hydroxychloroquine.
Derek, he's like, but it's peer-reviewed.
Well, first of all, I'm baffled and don't understand at what point, when in history, have peer reviews not been taken seriously?
Because the point. No, hold on. You said when? The point that Fauci was stating is.
The second thing I want to ask is.
Hold on. You asked the first one.
Sure
let's answer it.
Sure
hold on. You asked the first one. Hold on. Wait. You asked the first one. Can we answer the first one before you go to the second one?
No, I'm not finished.
No, wait. Hold on. No. You said. And
I said second. Let me finish.
Hold up. We're going to answer the first one, and then you can ask the second one. So to answer,
that's how I want to do it.
Well, that's how I want to do it.
Go ahead.
Derek, that's how we're gonna do it. We're gonna answer one question. Derek. It's like when I have two questions. I ask the first one, get an answer to it, then I ask the second one. Well, right? No, but that's actually how hosts do it. So here's the deal. So no. So you asked, no. Of course we're gonna do it my way. So you asked, how is it a peer review? So here's it. No. I'm gonna bring all three of you in. You asked peer review.
No, you asked me a question, I was gonna answer the question.
Derek, Fauci answered it. He said just because it's.
Didn't.
Hold on. This is the deal. This is just real simple. I'm gonna play again Fauci's answer. I want you to listen. No, I want you to listen to his. Hold up. You asked, when do we not pay attention to peer review? Fauci answered it. Folks, press play, folks.
That's Fauci.
Press play.
For that opportunity to comment. The Henry Ford Hospital study that was published was a non-controlled retrospective cohort study that was confounded by a number of issues, including the fact that many of the people who were receiving hydroxychloroquine were also receiving corticosteroids, which we know from another study gives a clear benefit in reducing deaths with advanced disease. So that study is a flawed study, and I think anyone who examines it carefully is that it is not a randomized placebo-controlled trial.
It says it's peer-reviewed.
It doesn't matter. You can peer review something that's a bad study, but the fact is it is not a randomized placebo-controlled.
Okay, so Derek, he just said you can.
If you let me finish.
He can say you can peer review a bad study. That answers your question.
Next thing I was going to say, if I can ever finish on your show.
Go ahead.
Everybody on this panel has, didn't agree with their doctor, and we got a second opinion. Why the hell does Dr. Fauci got to be the end-all to be-all? We can get a second opinion because there are other doctors who disagree with Dr. Fauci. And they have PhDs just like him, and they're not wrong for disagreeing with Dr. Fauci.
I got a question for you.
I'm not wrong for disagreeing with what y'all have to say.
Actually, if we're stating facts and you're not stating facts, then you could be wrong. But Rob, here's the deal. Rob, here's the deal. This is the person who is head of the what? NIH. This is the person who. Well, of course you don't care. But this is the person. This is the person who. No, he's just not just a doctor. There's like he's not that. Rob, he's just not that crazy woman down in Texas who believed in demon sperm and demon DNA. No, and so no, it's actually it's not my opinion. It's my opinion. But also, if I hold up Fauci and the crazy sister in Texas, I'm probably not going to listen to the crazy sister in Texas who says there is demon sperm. Rob, go ahead. Rob, go ahead. Rob is talking.
Not much of a different opinion when it comes to this. There are things that we know, and unfortunately, the right has become an exercise in stupidity. Like, who can be dumbest the fastest? We're arguing science. We're arguing that.
Rob is talking. Rob is talking. Finish your point, then I'll go to another guest. Go ahead.
Yeah, we're arguing if the Earth spins. We're arguing if the Earth is flat. Like they're arguing facts. It's not about saying, Dr. Fauci is the end-all be-all. Dr. Fauci is talking about how science works, and what Republicans are trying to do is pretend just like you do with climate change, like, oh, that doesn't exist and that's just made up. No, these are facts. Like 99% of doctors agree, and people that are looking at the facts and reasoning, not trying to make a president look not bad because he's a fool. And because Dr. Fauci is doing his job and you have an incompetent White House, these people are doing everything possible to deflect and blame things on Dr. Fauci because you have an incompetent person in the White House. Like, we need to just follow science. We could have saved a lot more people had we not followed science.
One second, I'm bringing Lauren in. Lauren, this is the thing. Lauren, this is the thing for me that is quite interesting. So when you hear Fauci talk about controlled, when you hear him talk about placebo, he's talking about how doctors and scientists actually properly assess drugs. He's laying out protocol. Excuse me, the member of Congress, Lauren, he's like, yeah, but it's peer review. He's like, yeah, but they didn't follow the traditional protocols that you go through. Lauren, go ahead.
Yeah, so last I checked, Anthony Fauci is an immunologist. He's a doctor, went to medical school. Last I checked, Jim Jordan's a wrestling coach. Now, if you want to argue whether or not today is Friday, that's fine. You want to argue whether or not today is, the day in July, that's fine. But if we stick to facts, I think I'm going to trust a doctor that has like a medical degree before any of these members of Congress, to the exclusion of some of the doctors in Congress who are very smart. But, we've watched Rand Paul, who's a physician as well, ask some of the dumbest questions of Anthony Fauci in committee. I mean, at some point, you have to get serious when, like I said, 150,000 people are dead. This is not a situation, this is an unprecedented situation with people dying by the tens of thousands. And we've got members of Congress that want to play games in a hearing with the top physician on this issue so that they can make a little video for themselves to turn on their base for the election. Like I said, it's shameful, it's embarrassing, and I think that the Republican Party is going to pay a huge price this November. And that's why you see things like the Lincoln Project, because half the party has figured out we can't continue to be this stupid in public. And hopefully that bears some fruit on Election Day. This is why you got the president trying to steal the election with his nonsense, because he knows it's coming. And all the polls and all the indicators indicate that, in fact, we are going to have a realignment in November.
All right, so I do want, I'm going to let Derek respond. I want to play this soundbite from Congressman Jim Clyburn from today's hearing before I do so. Go.
Can you help us understand why? While Europe has largely contained the virus, the United States has seen a continued rise in new cases.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. The answer to that question is really somewhat complex, but I'll try maybe to very briefly go through what I believe are at least some of the factors that were involved. If you look at what happened in Europe when they shut down or locked down or went to shelter in place, however you want to describe it, they really did it to the tune of about 95+% of the country did that. When you actually look at what we did, even though we shut down, even though it created a great deal of difficulty, we really functionally shut down only about 50% in the sense of the totality of the country, which means when we reached our peak, as they did, they came down almost to a low baseline, as you've shown very clearly. But take a look at what happened to our baseline. We came up, down, and then we plateaued at about 20,000 cases a day. So we started off with a very difficult baseline of transmission that was going on at the time that we tried to open up the country. And when we opened up the country, what we saw, particularly most recently in the southern states, was an increase of cases to 20, 30, 40, 50, and a couple of weeks ago it was up to 70,000 per day, and now it's down between 50 and 60. And the reasons for that are complex. There were some states that did it very well, and there are some states that did not. And when I say did not, I mean, we put out, as Ranking Member Scalise mentioned, the guidelines of a gateway, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Some were followed very carefully and some were not.
Derek, the reason I thought that was important because every time we hear Donald Trump talk, he's like, oh, we're doing great. We're doing great, but way better than Europe. Oh, we have tested more. We're doing more. So why are we still seeing 60 and 70,000 cases? That's leadership. That's leadership. That's leadership. And unfortunately, because you asked earlier, why is this political? Because part of the problem is that where we're seeing the skyrocketing cases in states led by Republican governors who are refusing to listen to the doctors.
I don't know if that's the case in every state, Roland. Different. Look, they laid it out. Initially, the states were like, oh, we don't want the federal government involved. We want to do it ourselves. So it's like, okay, we'll come up with a plan.
Actually, that's not what the states
do. I'll never get to finish my statement.
But that's a factually incorrect statement.
What is incorrect?
The states actually said we're looking for the federal government to lead, and then when Donald Trump said, hey, this y'all problem, they were like, well, damn, we got to figure this amongst ourselves. That's actually what happened.
So the states are rolled out the plan, Roland. Did they not?
No.
Did the states roll out the plan?
No, the states, no. The states said, federal government, where is the national plan? Donald Trump was like, yo, this on y'all. And the states then, different states and regions got together and said, since he is not going to lead, we have.
Listen to you.
No. But you said, they then said, we.
Listen to you, bro.
No, you just said something that's just factually incorrect. You said the states rolled their plan out. The states rolled their plan out after the federal government refused to implement a national plan. They had no choice. And the problem was, it wasn't all states. Most of your southern states were like, nope, no to mask mandates. Nope, we're not going to shut everything down. Nope, we're not going to do widespread testing, because they were all following Donald Trump's lead.
Correct.
So what happened? In May.
Here's my thing. If y'all have all the answers, let me put you in contact with some folks. Because y'all have all the answers.
No.
And if y'all got all the answers, y'all been keeping them to yourself.
No, actually.
Let me put you in contact with some folks.
Actually, the people you want to put us in.
Y'all got all the answers. These people don't know what they're doing.
Actually, the people you want to put us in contact with ain't listening to their own experts.
Listen,
I'm trying to put you in contact because y'all got all the answers.
Doesn't know what Governor DeSantis doesn't know what he's doing.
All the answers.
Hold on. Derek, in May, Ron DeSantis stood in front of the media outside of the White House with Vice President Mike Pence and wagged his finger, and y'all said we were going to see spikes. And y'all said we were going to see deaths. And he was going on and on and on. He said, we haven't seen none of that. Y'all owe me an apology. 4 weeks later, spikes. Deaths, skyrocketing, and then it was
let me throw out a date. In January, the president shut down travel from Europe.
Actually, he didn't.
Joe Biden said he was a xenophobe.
Actually, he didn't.
Remember that? Nancy Pelosi said, "Come on down to China."
No, Derek. Let me also give you a fact. Donald Trump gave an interview. No. Donald Trump, Derek. Let me help you. Donald Trump gave an interview on CNBC. He said there's one person from China with it in America. A week later, he said, a week later, Donald Trump said, we have 15 cases in America. We'll soon be down to 0. That actually came out of his mouth. Right now, Derek, we have 152,000 dead.
Okay.
Well, it's
there. Y'all got all the answers.
Rob, go ahead.
Hold on a second, Derek. We're not saying we have all the answers. We can just tell, we know it's Friday. We know it's Friday. We know some certain facts. And, no matter how much you might want to defend somebody because they're from your party, this guy is not doing a good job.
I'm not defending anyone, Ron.
Hold on.
I'm not defending anyone.
Hold on. Relax. All I'm saying is Trump. Wait a minute. Trump has done not only a bad job, he's done a horrible job. He's both incompetent and corrupt. And now he's put people's lives at risk just because he wanted to prove a political point. Honestly, had he been a normal president, he probably would have had a chance to pivot from this and show some leadership. A normal president would have taken the reins, would have said, this is our national response. He refused to do that. And then you had governors like Governor DeSantis, which he said we're going to be you guys were saying that we were going to have all these deaths, just like Roland said. They have surpassed New York, surpassed them. We have full leaders. We have the guy, the governor of Georgia, who is trying to get rid of mask mandates just to look good for Trump. That's stupid. That's not. And so I want to say this: we do have a Republican governor here in Ohio who has rejected what Trump has done. He's not been perfect, but he's tried to actually go for the evidence. Here in Ohio, he's done that.
Same as a Republican governor in Maryland, Larry Hogan, because you have.
So it's not Republican. It's common sense.
Right. That's it. Right. In fact, the governor of Alabama, Kay Ivey, she said, no, we're going to have a mask mandate. We're going to close businesses down.
Y'all validated my point. Why is it got to be political? That's all I was saying.
Because
you got Republican governor here,
because most
that's all I've been saying, bro.
Because
why is it got to be political every time it's somebody else's mouth?
Because most of the stupid people who are making decisions are Republicans.
That's an opinion.
And they put us in this position. Let me say this, because hey, Derek.
Rob, 20 seconds, next story, go.
I'll be very quick. Like, wearing a mask became political because Trump said, I'm not going to go out and wear a mask. And then suddenly he wears a mask and now it's saving people's lives. Like, he should have done that from the beginning. It shouldn't be political. This is stupid. Period.
Simple as that. All right, folks. Our next story. Black clergy leaders from across the country have signed an open letter to Vice President Joe Biden insisting that he choose one of the black women political leaders for vice president. They believe that having a black woman on the ticket offers the best scenario for Democrats to be victorious in the 2020 presidential election. Joining us right now is one of the signees, Reverend Dr. Barbara Williams Skinner, co-chair of the National Black Clergy Network. We obviously are getting to the point, Dr. Skinner, where Biden has to make a decision. We've seen these stories now where you got folks who are crapping on Senator Kamala Harris. Now they're saying, oh, they're down to compare her to Congresswoman Karen Bass. You got Ambassador Susan Rice. You got all this sort of stuff along those lines. Y'all aren't picking a winner among the black women. Y'all are saying you just better pick a black woman, correct?
We're saying at the time that we're in, Roland, with voter suppression on steroids, with what is at stake being so high, with democracy literally at stake, that we don't have time and we have no do-overs. We need the best organized, energized, engaged black community, white community, young people's community possible. We don't have that. We need vitality in this race. We need everybody who can vote out voting. They're trying to suppress the vote, stop the mail, slow down the mail, discourage people. We saw the impact of that in 2017. You know, in 2012, the black vote turnout was higher than the white vote turnout ever in history. It went down in 2016 with voter suppression. We're saying voter suppression is even more incredibly in your face. It's at the George Wallace level right now. So we need the best candidate who can help this party win, and that is a black woman.
But you got these white progressives who say no, they want Senator Elizabeth Warren.
We're saying we're giving you the benefit. The issue is this. Do you want to win? You want the base that's been the most faithful over the years? Not just black people, but black women have been that base that you could count on. You want that base out and energized. That's the point. You want to win, or do you want to win? The issue is that we don't have a do-over. Our community is going to be hurt harder than others, poor white, Asians, Native Americans, Latinos, than any other. We don't have the opportunity to get this right. We're almost at the point now where we're losing voting rights. We have fair housing kicked to the gutter by this administration. What will happen in another 4 years to our democracy? We're saying we have an opportunity now. People have not been in the street for the same thing. They want change. We're talking about what would look like change in America right now, and that is a black woman on the ticket helping this candidate to win.
One of the things that, and again, so if you look at the folks who is on his short list, Senator Kamala Harris, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Congresswoman Val Demings, Atlanta Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms, and former National Security Advisor and UN Ambassador Susan Rice. There are others who's considering as well. That decision is going to come down real soon. Look, I agree with you. I've been saying for the longest, Biden has no choice but to pick a black woman, because the reality is black voters were the one who saved his behind when we came to South Carolina. And then if he does not, what he does, he guarantees the critics to say, see, there you go. Black folks being the black folks being political sharecroppers, saving your butt, but then not having a return on their investment.
We have more than the top of the ticket, Roland. We've got the Senate, the House. We've got down ballot, sheriff's races, all of the other races that impact our policing, our schools, our housing, our wealth gap, our criminal justice system. I'm saying in my lifetime, I don't know when the stakes have been higher, and your lifetime. And we have an opportunity now. We're either going to take it and go forward, or we're going to go back and we're going to regret it. We have an opportunity to win with the best. We have an opportunity to show the world that Black lives matter, that in fact we have the best candidates among all of those Black women. We think the president to be is going to really have a partner who can make a difference in the White House, and we're offering to that.
All right. Pastor Barbara Skinner, we certainly appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much. Lauren, I want to go to you. Does he have no choice? Will he pick a black woman?
Yeah, I think he does have no choice. When he sort of boxed himself in on the idea of I'm going to pick a female running mate, that sort of boxed him in right there. I think, frankly, the activist community has done a really good job of pushing the idea of an African-American female. And I've always thought that it was going to be Kamala Harris, but, I can see that the Susan Rice thing is building, and he knows her from the administration.
So you think the pick is going to be Susan Rice?
No, I actually think I think it's going to be Kamala Harris. Actually.
Okay, Rob.
But Susan Rice is sort of snuck in there. Personally, I think she's boring, but that's just me. I also think that when you're 77 years old, you do have to be very careful not to get into Sarah Palin territory. It is not to suggest that Senator Harris is in that territory. I think she's qualified certainly to be Vice President of the United States. I'm just saying that, there are some people on the list that I think that it could be a question mark as to whether or not they would be prepared to take over the presidency.
Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Rob.
Yeah, I remember we had this conversation months ago, pre-George Floyd, pre-protest, and my statement then was, I don't think he's going to do it. Now my statement is that I think he was already under pressure. He has to do it in this moment. I would believe it's going to be Kamala Harris would have the tip, just because I think it's very hard to try to introduce somebody to the national stage at the very last minute for the last 2 months of the campaign, and we haven't seen these folks go out. We don't know some of the other folks is I guess what they have, skeletons in their closet, what will come out, the attacks that are coming against them. I think Kamala, what those are. You should be able to prepare for them. But again, I'll take any black woman that's there. I'll be proud if they come up, and we'll see.
Derek, does he have any choice but to pick a black woman?
Yes, I think he does, and I think anybody for us to stand up here is purely speculation.
Obviously, it's speculation.
That's
the definition of speculation.
Anyway, Shorty.
That's like saying the sky is blue. It's blue. Go ahead, Derek.
As I was saying,
you damn Omegas. Go ahead.
A few months ago, when Stacey Abrams was getting a lot of the nod for the VP, I said to some people, well, Stacey Abrams, you know what? She can't raise enough money. And I got a bunch of pushback and a lot from people when I said that. And I think that's a huge factor. Who can raise the most money to go after and compete with Donald Trump? And so when you start looking at that, I think Kamala Harris could. But on the flip of it, I think Elizabeth Warren would be the best one suited to do that. That's my take on it.
Okay. All right. Here's the deal, folks. Joe Biden's going to pick a black woman. He's had no choice but to pick an African-American woman. He absolutely has to have significant black turnout. And if he does not pick an African-American woman to be his VP nominee, what he does is guarantee this whole narrative that he is dissing black folks when they're the ones who saved his political hide after he lost Iowa, after he lost New Hampshire, after he lost Nevada. And so that's what it is. I think the pick is going to be Senator Kamala Harris. My dark horse is Congresswoman Val Demings. That's what I think. All right, y'all.
All right,
we got a new batch of online viral ads. Roll it.
A failed president. The worst economy in U.S. history. More Americans have died in this 4-month period than ever before. Donald Trump's response? Stop the election. He can't win. We voted during the wars. We voted in the Great Depression. We voted when civil unrest swept the country. Americans died for our right to vote. Americans marched for our right to vote. Americans were beaten and brutalized for our right to vote. Now a failed president faces defeat, with millions out of work and tens of thousands dying from his incompetence and neglect, threatening the very foundations of democracy. Donald Trump, here's the message. We will vote. We will defend America. We will throw you and your failed cronies out of office. The choice, America or Trump.
The Lincoln Project is responsible for the content of this advertising.
America, we need to have a tough conversation. We need to talk about what the next 98 days are going to look like. Trump can't run on the economy because he's destroyed it. And he cannot run on his response to the coronavirus because it is a disaster with 150,000 dead. So Donald Trump is going to play 3 cards in his final days before the election. Card number 1, he's going to start a civil war. He's going to sell hate.
Black lives don't matter at all to me. White lives matter.
He knows he doesn't have the black or Latino vote.
Look at my African American over here. They're rapists.
So his plan is to scare the hell out of white people.
You can't do the mail-in ballots because you're going to have tremendous fraud.
His entire campaign will boil down to if you don't elect Trump, black and Latino people will fall from the sky and take over the country.
She got the gun on me. Get away. She got the gun on me.
With the full support of Bill Barr, Trump is sending officers into major cities to incite riots.
Violent rioters and anarchists.
He creates the images, then uses them to fundraise and scare white voters.
There is no one here to answer your emergency call.
Card number 2, he's going to promise a vaccine that is not remotely ready. Trump lies about everything, and he's betting that he can sell you on the promise of a vaccine before the election.
As soon as a vaccine is approved, which could be very, very soon.
It would take then about a year to a year and a half to be fully confident that we would have a vaccine that would be able to protect the American people.
And even then, it's complicated. Because the best case scenario is likely a 2-dose vaccine given 30 days apart to 350 million Americans. That's 700 million doses. Think about how badly testing went wrong. Do you think the vaccine is going to go much better? Card number 3, he's going to try an October surprise on Joe Biden. It will be big, loud, and another lie. And if history is any indicator, it will be widely covered by the media without any vetting. Trump can't run on his record, so he's going to run on fear and false promises.
Right, and then I see the disinfectant. And is there a way we can do something like that? By injection?
He'll promise anything to get reelected.
All right, folks, that Don Winslow ad, Lauren, when he says he wants to scare white voters, that's the plan. It's real clear.
It's very clear. The sad part, of course, is that I suspect there's not anywhere near as many white voters out there as as stupid as Donald Trump. Like this idea that Donald Trump thinks that everybody is stupid like he is I think completely faulty, and that's why you're seeing in a lot of these battleground states, particularly with white women specifically. The polls are showing that they are hugely against Donald Trump. So this strategy is going to be a big loser. This idea that it's, 1920 or 1940, I mean, that's the world that Donald Trump unfortunately lives in. It's really sad. We already know he's probably the most dangerous president that we've had, in American history, unfortunately. I do think we're going to get to a conversation here with regard to whether or not the military district of Washington or somebody is going to have to take him out at noon on Jan 20, 2021, because he'll play with this idea of not leaving or play with this idea that the election is not legit. And for no other reason than he just, wants to be in control of things. He at some level, even somebody who's so deeply stupid and narcissistic as Donald Trump at some point has to realize he has no idea what he's doing. He's a glorified fake-ass real estate agent that lucked into the presidency, had 2.8 million votes fewer than Hillary Clinton. He has no idea what he's doing. I suspect there's people in the White House, that are close to him. I mean, family members that understand that they have no idea what they're doing, probably secretly thinking and secretly hoping that they lose this thing and go back to New York, because it is extremely, extremely dangerous situation that we have in front of us right now.
Derek, I think absolutely this whole idea of, again, trying to scare the hell out of white people. But here's the deal, though. He's scaring the hell out of white people. We talk about coronavirus. I want to show you this. The folks at COVID-19 tracking. This is what they just dropped 38 minutes ago. Go to my iPad. Our daily update is published. States reported 889,000 tests today, the second highest total ever, along with 68,000 cases. States reported 1,308 deaths today as the 7-day average continues to rise. And you see those numbers there. Look, bottom line is here. He would love to run the economy, but coronavirus and how it's going, not good news for Donald Trump. His only tactic is to scare these white folks to vote.
Again, y'all offer a lot of opinion on this show.
That's the point.
I think, oh my God.
That's the point. Your opinion.
Y'all offer a lot of opinion on this show. And unfortunately, everybody don't agree with y'all's opinion. And when people don't agree with your opinion, it don't make them stupid. It don't make them wrong. They just don't agree with you.
Some folks are stupid and wrong.
Oh, man, come on now, dude. So if I don't agree with everything that you say, I'm stupid and wrong.
No. Some people are stupid and wrong.
Yeah, Donald Trump is stupid and wrong.
So the hundreds of millions of Americans that agree with him are all stupid and wrong.
Well, actually, hold on. You just said the hundreds of millions of Americans that agree with him. First of all, wait. No, hold on. No. Wait. Hold up. Wait. You just said the hundreds of millions of Americans
that agree with him are ignorant and stupid.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes, Rob, your point. Rob, go ahead.
Then I'm an ignorant and stupid ass too.
Rob, go ahead.
Back on your show.
Well, I want to say this. If you're going to go out and not wear a mask,
I'm just be off your show. I'm an ignorant, stupid ass too.
Rob, go ahead.
If you're going to not wear a mask because this president tells you not to, would you call that smart? Would you call it smart that you have an infectious disease and you see people dying, that you're going to continue to do that? I mean, I don't know. I don't think that's a smart thing to do. I don't think it's a wise thing to do. I don't think it's a prudent thing to do. If you want to do that, that is your constitutional right to do that. People have a constitutional right to do it when they want to. But you know what? But then you don't have a right to put others in jeopardy. That's the problem. And so
you don't have a right to call people stupid because they don't agree with you.
Actually, yes, I can.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it's stupid not to wear a mask when you know you're putting yourself at risk. Why would you want to do that to yourself and your family? It's selfish. It's that too. You want to say all those things? Those are selfish, stupid things to do.
Well, people
and
agree
it's
with
not going to help us.
Yeah, people just don't agree with you.
Stupid because they don't agree. I'm saying that Donald Trump is
stupid because they don't agree with you. They're stupid.
I'm not saying that they're not.
One second. No, wait. Right, no, wait. Here's the deal. I'm going back to what the top.
If I'm stupid, don't have me back on here.
Well, no, because here's the deal. It's important for people to see and hear stupid. But here's the deal. Well, that's fine, but you can be replaced. Here's the whole deal. I started off by saying, like seriously, Derek, now you really acting like an Omega. Here's the whole deal. I started off by saying, is Donald Trump going to scare white people? That was the whole point of it. And yes, Donald Trump is trying to scare white people. That's what he's trying to do. It's abundantly clear. It's real clear. Rob, Lauren, make your final point. We'll see if Derek wants to come back, but he signed off. But go ahead.
Yeah, but that's what the right is trying to do. They're trying to get people outraged that they're calling you stupid. They're trying to take away your country. They're taking away your First Amendment rights to go to the church. No, we're not. We're trying to make sure you live. And we're trying to get you to listen to facts. And I don't want anybody to die anymore when they don't have to. That is stupid to go out to a political rally just because he tells you to, when he's going to go out and wear a mask, but he's going to put you at risk. That's not smart. That's not wise. It's reckless. Why do this? Like, this is not smart. And we can do better things as Americans. Let's actually argue over tax policy and things like that. Let's go back to arguing over that, not arguing over scientific facts. Stop it. This is crazy.
Go ahead, Lauren.
Look, people who want to sit on TV and cape for these idiots, give me a break. I mean, what do you, is Derek getting a little paycheck from these people? Like, what are you proving? Like, defending Donald Trump. Donald Trump is one of the stupidest presidents we've had in American history. And his inaction, his lack of having a plan, has contributed to the deaths of 150,000 Americans. Like, what more do you need to happen at this point? And if you want to be an idiot and get on and defend that, okay, it's a free country. The First Amendment is there for a reason. But you think if I am or anybody else is going to sit here and not call this out for what it is on a daily basis, you got to be out of your mind.
And here's the deal. And
so what?
And here's the deal. And here's the deal. Very simple. Okay, my last comment on this topic. Here's the deal.
They call us
No. Here's the deal. Here's the deal. If I disagree with you, I'm going to disagree with you. I'm going to push back. Now, you could be all upset, mad, like, oh my goodness, why are you disagreeing with me? But I'm going to disagree with you. Get over it. It's going to happen. Now, here's the deal. If you don't want to come back, you ain't got to come on. But I was being very factual. I will replace you. The deal is real simple. I don't care. I've had other people who say, I'm not coming back. Okay, there will be a panel on Monday and on Tuesday and Wednesday and Thursday and Friday. Got to go to a break. When we come back, we're going to talk with St. Louis attorney Kim Gardner. She's been under constant duress because folks do not want to see a black woman as a top attorney in St. Louis. She's next on Roland Martin Unfiltered. You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, St. Louis couple charged with illegally pointing guns at protesters outside of their home last month. They want to disqualify St. Louis Circuit Attorney Kim Gardner from their case, claiming she exploited the confrontation for political gain. This is only the latest attack against Gardner. Folks, they have been targeting her, trying to stop her from doing her job from the moment she got in. She joins us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Kim, glad to have you back.
How you doing, Roland? How you been doing?
So now you're exploiting this for political gain, really?
Simply not true. But that's the fear tactic of President Donald Trump and the Senator Josh Hawley of my state, as well as now Governor Parsons and Attorney General Schmidt. They're using their political pandering to distract from the COVID-19 pandemic that they have failed on every level of leadership to address. And we have increasing deaths in the state of Missouri.
And the thing here is, again, and for folks who don't know, they have been, you have been constantly attacked for every move. Just give our viewers and listeners an understanding of the hell they have been putting you through since you became circuit attorney.
Well, every chance I have enacted reform in the city of St. Louis and been successful in spite of all the vitriol that has been lodged against me on every level. You know, I was the prosecutor that held the former governor, Eric Greitens, accountable. And basically, this is the political attacks that continue to be lodged against me, because it's not about Kim Gardner. It's about silencing the will of the people. And if you remember, I was on your show previously talking about the lawsuit I lodged against the city, and as well as the powerful few that continue to impede the will of the voters. And that's what this is about. This is about the, election is August 4th, and the people of the city of St. Louis can decide whether they want to continue with a reform-minded prosecutor like myself. But we have people like President Donald Trump, as well as Senator Josh Hawley and the Attorney General, Eric Schmidt, who want to also use this because they're running August 4th. And they've never ran for the office. They were appointed. And so they're using this political pandering to a base to cause racial divide. And we all know that it exists, the fear of racial divide and the fear of reform in the city of St. Louis. And that's what is at stake.
Now, so explain to people also, you're a circuit attorney, but then you have Wesley Bell, who is he county DA? Explain to people what the difference is.
Prosecuting attorney. We call the circuit attorney is like a DA everywhere else, and we call the other prosecutors in the state prosecuting attorneys. So I'm the only circuit attorney in the city of St. Louis.
Okay, so you're basically the St. Louis city DA.
Yes.
And he's the county DA.
Yes.
Okay, which is also a weird system there because, like, for instance, I'm from Houston. We have a Harris County DA. There's a county DA. There's no city DA. So St. Louis is set up a little bit. I mean, Missouri is set up a lot different in terms of how you sort of have these roles.
Yeah, I mean, we have 114 DAs in our state, and I happen to be a county within a county, and so I'm called the circuit attorney, and I only cover the city of St. Louis.
And so, and again, when you talk about, the attacks, we had you on before, and I mean, they literally went to court and said, you can't pursue cases. You've had state Republicans trying to get you removed from cases as well, said you didn't have any jurisdiction. You've been fighting for, you laid out an investigation that said that I guess it was a black man, did not commit a crime, should not be in prison. They basically said you don't have standing. I mean, it's like every effort to do your job, they have been trying to block.
Yes, I mean, if you look at it, this is the attacks that the reform-minded African-American female prosecutors around this country, like a Marilyn Mosby, like a Kim Foxx, and Aramis Ella, and many others, Stephanie Morales, many others face. This has been the repeated attacks that have been directed by Attorney General William Barr, which he called for these attacks against reform-minded prosecutors, and this has been supported by the president, Donald Trump, because this is about the war on justice, the war on criminal justice reform, that they want to bring it back to mass incarceration, which we all know failed. And this is the fear of the war on drugs all over again in 2020. So this is really a distraction from their failed leadership on every level of government to address this national crisis, a pandemic, COVID-19, where African Americans and people around this country are dying at alarming rates. And the Missouri governor and other elected Republican officials who have failed to expand access to health care, to expand access to adequate resources to address the COVID-19 and to care about the essential workers, they want to distract, and they also want to usurp the will of the people. So this is about the local elections that the Republican Party on every level have now decided to attack the local elected reform-minded prosecutors to usurp the will of their voters and to actually determine how we are elected by injecting themselves in our jurisdiction. And that's what this is about. This is about people criticizing the prosecutorial discretion that a prosecutor in my position has had since 1831. And why is my discretion basically challenged every step of the way?
We're showing video right now, and this was a news conference from several months ago where Marilyn Mosby and those other black DAs were standing with you. And yeah, I mean, black females have been under attack across this country. Aramis Ayala in Florida, Marilyn Mosby there. I mean, we can go Kim Foxx in Chicago. We can go on and on because you have folks who have been in power and they do not want to see change agents in DA positions.
But the attacks that have this unique vitriol against us, they dehumanize us. And this intersection of race and sexism is real. I've been told that I should be strung up by a tree by the KKK. I've also been told that they want to see a bullet in my head. And because of the attacks of President Donald Trump on how the sitting elected prosecutor does their job, also, I've had people coming from Ohio, white supremacists, and many other individuals coming out, protesting outside my home. And so it's not just critique and criticism. It's actually dangerous and fear for us to do our job the right way. And it's truly about justice. And so when you have these attacks where you see examples of the Attorney General of my state who wants to call for prosecutorial discretion in the Michael Flynn case, but he does not lodge prosecutorial discretion when we have wrongfully convicted individuals like Lamar Johnson languishing in prison, when we have overwhelming evidence that my conviction integrity unit found out that this person needs to be released, then he fights against these types of cases. But then he wants to talk about upholding the Constitution. And so we have to question these political motives of people who pander for political reasons. But then they want to use us as saying we're pandering to a political decision and we're doing our job. I mean, the only thing that gets the benefit of the doubt is justice. That's it.
All right, then. Kim Gardner, when is the primary? When's the election?
It's August 4th. It's coming up.
All right,
soon,
then.
And we're fighting.
All right, then. Well, we'll surely be watching those election results. Good luck in it.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Roland Martin,
Thank
for allowing
you.
me on here.
Absolutely. We appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. All right, folks, let's talk about this story out of Alabama. Talk about some of these crazy people. An Alabama lawmaker has resigned as the pastor of a church because he attended the birthday celebration of a Klan leader. Alabama Republican Will Dismukes of Prattville stepped down from his role at Pleasant Hill Baptist Church on Wednesday following a meeting with church officials. Now, again, he attended a celebration for Confederate Army General and former KKK leader Nathan Bedford Forrest. Yeah, y'all, he's a state lawmaker. Now, let's go to this story here. In Harperswood, Michigan, the mayor, Kenneth Pointer, he has resigned. Go to my iPad. This is the Detroit News. The city of, this apparently over comments he made regarding white supremacists. Now, they laid out the statement here. During a meeting last week with community leaders and city department heads, Pointer reportedly told them, "I understand why white people would become white supremacists." Well, let's just say that pissed off a lot of people. And so the city attorney released this statement. The city of Harper Woods has just accepted the resignation of Mayor Kenneth Pointer. It's a very difficult thing. Mayor Pointer has devoted much of his adult life to doing great things for those who live and come to visit the city of Harper Woods. He's gone above and beyond the call of duty to make Harper Woods a great place to live and do business. Unfortunately, the city does believe it's in the best interest that Mayor Pointer resign. We do not believe his comments were appropriate or reflect those who live and work in the city of Harper Woods. We also feel it's necessary in order that we can bring change and enhance the civil liberties and rights of each and every person within the city and those who come to visit on a daily basis. We wish Mayor Pointer well. Rob, it's hilarious. You see, the thing that we are seeing here, and it's not just because Trump is in there, but what we are seeing white folks be exposed for exactly who they are. And his presence and his just blatant appeal to white supremacists has unleashed this across the country.
Well, there's no question. I think, don't let your president get you in trouble because people think they can do. They're like, now we can say it. We can do it because we have a president that's finally said what we all believe, which a lot of people don't believe that, but they believe that because they believe crazy stuff. So they're getting to the point to think they can do what Donald Trump can do, and you can't. You can't do that. And you know what? We're not going to stand for it because we're not going back. We're not going back to those days, and we're going to fight. And we're going to move forward. It's not acceptable where we're at now, but we're certainly not going to go back to where we were in 1950. But you got some folks believing that they can do that because he has empowered this culture of hate and a culture that you can just feel good about white supremacy because he says it all the time. So if the president says it, I should be able to say it. But you know what? You can't. And hopefully in November, we're going to show the president can't do this either.
Lauren, they were pissed off because they've been protesting in that place over Priscilla Slater, a black woman who was killed there. And so go back to my iPad, please. Pointer's wife, Margaret, allegedly tore up a demonstrator sign and one in which marchers gathered outside the couple's home, angering the mayor. So basically, these folks were protesting, these black people were protesting, and his inner white supremacists started talking out loud.
Yeah, I think that one of the things that has been really interesting to watch during the last maybe 4 or 5 weeks is people who are driven into action when somebody puts a Black Lives Matter sign up or writes Black Lives Matter on the ground. It's a really sort of telling thing how uncomfortable people are with that, and this whole desecrating Black Lives Matter signs and being angry that people are saying Black Lives Matter is a very interesting viral video from Arkansas online right now, a white gentleman with a Black Lives Matter sign and everybody reacting negatively to him. It's telling. I think it points to the insecurity of the changing demographics in the United States. It also, of course, gives you a very worrisome glimpse into the vestiges of the history of the United States with regard to the standing or lack of standing that African Americans have had for 400 years. But to me, it's interesting also to juxtapose that with the amount of white folks that we've seen marching in the streets in favor of Black Lives Matter who are completely comfortable with saying Black Lives Matter and wearing the T-shirts and everything else. But it is amazing to see some of the people who are they just cannot take it. They cannot handle it. And again, they reveal themselves.
Oh, absolutely. For some breaking news here, go to my iPad, please. and they're in Michigan. And this is reading from the Detroit News. A 15-year-old Oakland County girl whose months-long detainment drew national condemnation because it was punishment for missed homework amid the pandemic was released Friday evening to the custody of her mother. The Michigan Court of Appeals ordered the girl's release earlier Friday from Children's Village, a juvenile detention facility in Pontiac, following outrage, marches, and public pressure from former presidential hopeful Hillary Clinton and others. The teen was picked up around 5 p.m. by her mother. Of course, the judge ordered saying that she was not abiding by to do homework. Rob, this really ticked off so many different people that you would put a 15-year-old girl in a juvenile detention facility for not doing homework.
Because you don't value her life, because the criminal justice system is stacked against us. This is why people are in the streets. It's not just about police brutality. It's about a system that is so rigged, that is so against us, that you go to jail at 15 for not doing your homework. They would have sent me to jail 10 times. I didn't do my homework all the time when I was in high school, and I graduated twice. So why are we judging these kids so early in their career, just trying to write them off? I mean, it was shameful that this happened. And you know that the light wasn't shined on this case, that this is happening. This is not an exception to the rule. It's more often the rule when you deal with black and brown kids. So,
Lauren, it was white female judge Mary Ellen Brennan of Oakland County Family Court. She ruled, quote, the girl was guilty on failure to submit any schoolwork and getting up for school. Also called her a threat to the community because she was on probation for assault and theft charges. And that was related to her mother. Now, again, you put somebody in juvenile detention for not doing homework, and that was a result of COVID-19 because they had to go to distance learning.
Yeah, well, the efforts to obviously criminalize African Americans in this country run deep. The attempts to try children as adults and having police in school, it was a slippery slope, and it effectively, obviously, increases the school-to-prison pipeline, the levels of incarceration with regard to African Americans. This is the type of absurd, ridiculous, nonsense ruling that should be protested against and fought feverishly. It's been going on. This type of stupid, decision-making, of course, has been biased and going on for years. And, it will come to an end when you obviously activate politically, change who is in charge, change who is making decisions, and act proactively to get people such as this out of these positions.
Folks, Atlanta City Councilman Antonio Brown says he is not going to resign after being indicted by a federal grand jury on multiple counts of fraud for allegedly lying about his income on applications to obtain loans and credit cards, which he used for personal purchases, including a Range Rover and Mercedes-Benz C300. The U.S. Attorney's Office has also accused Brown of lying about being a victim of identity theft to defraud the financial institutions that gave him the money. He's charged with wire fraud, mail fraud, bank fraud, and making false statements on a bank loan application. In Tennessee, Democratic State Senator Katrina Robinson of Memphis, she has been charged with swindling $600,000 in federal funds to pay for her wedding and finance a lavish lifestyle, according to federal prosecutors. From 2015 to 2019, she's accused of stealing the money that was granted to the Healthcare Institute, a company she directed. In addition to covering her wedding costs, she's charged with using the funds to pay for her honeymoon and pay legal fees for her divorce. She also paid for her daughter's 2016 Jeep Renegade, home improvements, a $500 Louis Vuitton handbag, and invested in a snow cone business run by her children. You never play with federal funds. Now, granted, innocent until proven guilty. But when the feds come after you, Rob, it's never a good thing.
Yeah, they have about a 95% success rate. So look, you don't play with money. And I have this rule when I ran for office. It said we got 3 lines. We got perception, we got what's ethical, and what's legal. You want to be all the way on the side of perception. So if somebody talked about what happened in the paper, could you explain it? And if I told my staff, if you couldn't, don't do it. It's really simple. That's it. And that's how you have to operate when it comes to politics.
Lauren.
Yeah, well, I mean, geez, Range Rovers and weddings. I mean, you got to be pretty bold to be spending.
Wait, hold on. Wedding and divorce.
Right. You gotta really be. I mean, typically, when you hear about these types of cases and you read the details and you read the case in its totality, which I have not done, you do find things that particularly with campaign cases, federal campaign money cases, you'll find things that might be on the border of something legitimate. You typically don't find somebody paying for a wedding or a snow cone company or a Range Rover. I mean, what group of prosecutors is going to miss that when they are looking over the documents and looking at the purchases, et cetera, and so on? So there's really nothing, if this is accurate, obviously, I don't know the complete internal details, but if that story is accurate, that is an outrageous example of corruption.
And some people just can't be around money, Roland. Some people, when you give them money and you give them too much power, they just can't handle it. So some people just can't deal with money, can't deal with power, just don't need to have it because they act a fool.
Well, and the thing is, both of them were elected in 2018. They've only been in office 2 years. Lauren, go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, yeah. I mean, they've only been in office 2 years. One of the things about running for public office is people need to understand you're not going to become a millionaire running for public office. If you're better off staying in the private sector.
Well, but if you in Louisiana or Illinois, you could. Well, go ahead.
Or Kentucky.
Well, typically, I mean, yeah, you're right.
Or that big bribery scandal in your state, Ohio.
Oh, yeah. Forgot. Yeah, you're right. So
typically, you can make more money. The people who tend to run for public office, of course, typically have, a law degree, a doctorate, something where they can make more than the typical salary of, say, a member of Congress, which is $175,000. You're right, Roland. There are some notable exceptions. The Mitch McConnell exception. You still can't figure out how he became a millionaire sitting in the Senate for over 25 years. But the point, though, is that there has to be some realization when you become a candidate for office that this is typically not going to be a financial bonanza, and you have to have a lot of discipline for that. And so to be in office for 2 years and be conducting yourself in that way is outrageous. All
right, folks, let's talk about this story here out of Arkansas. An Arkansas police officer, during a February arrest, told a man who later died in police custody, quote, "If you can talk, you can breathe," according to newly released footage. The police department in Conway, Arkansas, released edited footage of the arrest 2 days ago. During the incident, police placed Lionel Morris and a second man under arrest after a call reporting they had removed a drone from his packaging in a Harps store. Morris ran from officers who tackled him in a different part of the store, tasing him several times while trying to subdue him. Watch some of this video.
At 4:25 p.m. on February 4th, Conway police received a call about a shoplifting in progress at Harp's grocery store on East German Lane. On arrival, officers made contact with two people who were identified by store employees as the shoplifting suspects. After the concealed merchandise was located, officers proceeded to ask both of them to place their hands behind their back. The woman, Brandy Arnold, was placed under arrest, while the man, later identified as Lionel Morris, ran from officers to avoid being taken into custody. Officers caught Morris inside the store, and a struggle ensued that lasted approximately 6.5 minutes.
Gotcha. Help me! Beat me up! Stop!
During the struggle, officers instructed Morris to submit to arrest nearly 40 times.
Please, sir. No. One more chance. Put him behind the back, okay?
Officers tased Mr. Morris multiple times during the struggle in an attempt to gain control.
Do it now. Hey!
During the incident, Morris said he was in medical distress while continuing to fight for several minutes.
Oh my God. Help me, please.
At one point, Morris reached for a knife clipped to his pocket. As the struggle continued, Morris dragged one of the officers to the ground, positioned himself on top of the officer, and placed the officer in a chokehold. Instead of using deadly force, the officer grabbed the knife and drew it from the immediate area. Approximately 5 minutes into the struggle, more officers arrived on scene and were eventually able to subdue Morris and place him in handcuffs. A call for emergency medical services was made by officers before handcuffs were secured.
Hey, where's he bleeding?
This way.
I'm gonna get Madden Center out. Talk to one Conway. Get Madden Center out. Stop. Stop moving. Anybody else missing a? You talking? Where's the stop? Stop moving. Stop moving. Did you already check that thing?
No.
You can talk, you can breathe. Chill out. We got an ambulance.
No, you're all right. It's on the back.
Yeah.
Get away from me. Yeah, I was there.
Whoever station that was, I told him to turn it off. Like right there, my hand's right there, so turn it off.
Don't move. I said don't move.
Put your
Stop
head
moving.
down and be still. You
Stop
understand
moving.
that? Put your head back on the floor and straighten your leg out. No.
Stop moving.
Put your head down and be still.
I think I might have done that.
You got hand sanitizer?
Man, you can hand sanitizer? Can you get
Prior to medical personnel arriving, Morris was placed in a recovery position and began receiving treatment for injuries he sustained during the struggle. Medical professionals arrived and took over care and treatment. Unfortunately, Mr. Morris passed away during transport to the hospital. At the request of the Conway Police Department, Arkansas State Police responded to the scene and started an independent investigation into the incident. This investigation ultimately took several months, interviewed multiple witnesses, reviewed all videos and audio from both Harps and the Conway Police Department, and encompassed the state medical examiner's report. The autopsy and toxicology report determined that Mr. Morris was positive for several drugs, including methamphetamine and morphine. The level of drugs in Mr. Morris's system and the strain he exerted while struggling with the police ultimately contributed to his death. The Arkansas State Police turned over their entire file, including the medical examiner's report, to the 20th Judicial District Prosecuting Attorney. After a thorough review, the prosecutor determined there was no evidence of any criminal wrongdoing by the Conway Police Department or the Conway police officers involved in this unfortunate incident. Now that the independent investigation has determined that officers did not cause Mr. Morris's death, an internal professional standards investigation will proceed in order to further review details of the case and determine whether there were any policy or rule violations. People may view aspects of this incident and be disturbed or uncomfortable. I understand. Use of force in any situation is uncomfortable and should always be analyzed to determine if things can be improved upon. In reviewing this incident, I recognize that there are things as a police department we can do better, and these are things that we will do better. In closing, I once again would like to express our sympathies to the Morris family and all others impacted by this unfortunate incident.
I guess what bothers me, and Rob, I'm going to go to you because I think back to the John Crawford III story out of Ohio. I think it was Beaver Creek, Ohio.
Yep, that's it.
They say here that the store called the cops because they removed a drone from the package. It wasn't shoplifting. It wasn't theft. So that required you to call the cops?
Yeah, I mean, no, it doesn't. And you call the cops because you see a black person and you feel like they're a threat to you no matter what. And you know, again, I think I've told you the story. I had people call the cops on me when I was 12 years old, and I was put in the back of a police car for no reason. My mom had to come up and actually. She almost cussed out the police officer, but I went home that day because I didn't have a reason to be back there. But this is what black people go through in America all day, every day. They assume you're a criminal, and it often leads to encounters like that. And yeah, I definitely blame the store owner for calling someone if no one's life's in danger if they actually didn't steal anything. It just makes no sense.
Again, that's what I don't get, Lauren. They didn't walk out of the store with it. So, okay, you don't open a package in the store. That requires you to call the cops?
Yeah, you know, that's an incident right there. And we've seen many of these now where you sit and you ask yourself, would the situation have been better if no police were involved? And the answer is yes. If the police had not shown up that day, somebody would still be alive. And when you find yourself asking that general question, I mean, it's not as if they're looking for somebody who just murdered 5 people, who just did a mass shooting, something like that. It's a shoplifting beef. And let's, you know, whether he was shoplifting or not, you know, you're talking about a petty theft. And so there's 2 things at play there. One is, did the cops come and make the situation better or worse? I think is an open question that we should be asking ourselves about policing. The other question is how we deal with mental health just generally in this country, which the answer is we don't deal with it. We have the police dealing with every single problem across the board. Police are truant officers. Police are mental health, you know, interveners. They're domestic violence interveners. And so the part in there that I think we never really confront is that we are asking our police to do too much in general. And also, when we ask them to get involved with things like this, where there may, in fact, be a mental health issue or just a basic health issue, if this person was, in fact, on some sort of drugs, you know, are the police the best answer for that situation? And when you see all this confusion on video happening over what may or may not be a petty theft and what looks like sort of a very sort of low-end convenience store, it's kind of like, really? I mean, I would think that we should look into the mirror as a society and say, we should be able to do better than that. We should be able to come up with something better than what we just saw in that video.
I mean, and then officers should be able to de-escalate, learn how to deal with situations before they get to, could they have used the force? They probably could justify the force used. I don't know. I didn't see all of it, but that's not the question we should ask. The question is, could it be done a different way to prevent a death? Could you de-escalate the situation, knowing how to talk to people, know how to talk them down, even when they get away, even when they ran, and just figure out how to calm the situation versus making people more agitated and finding a way to, just escalate the situation.
Again, I still start with the most basic thing. You do not call the cops because somebody opened a package.
We call the cops for everything. I mean, what?
And that's the problem. The problem is, which is why when Derek was talking about these efforts to defund the police, why in San Francisco what they have done is they have sent mental health professionals. I was reading a story the other day where in Kentucky, I think it was in Kentucky, they've sent social workers, and it's drastically decreased the number of arrests because they dealt with the issue without law enforcement. When you bring law enforcement who has tasers and guns, shit happens and folks die. That's the difference. That's the difference.
When you're a hammer, everything is a nail. And what do cops do? They are there for use of force. They are there with a license to kill. That's why cops have a special designation under the law. They, in fact, have a license to kill. But we do have to get into a discussion very quickly about how we deal with some of these things that have nothing to do with the need for violent force. Because right now we're in a situation where cops are dying. You know, we see it all the time, obviously, on your show, Roland. We have these video examples of stupid people calling the cops over nothing, you know, and really escalating the situation just by calling the cops. So that right there is an escalation. And the cop shows up and has to deal with this dispute that really is not worthy of a law enforcement officer.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. All right, folks. Rob, Lauren, I surely appreciate you joining our panel. Derek, come back, Derek. Don't be scared. Don't shut down. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom or something. I don't know.
Don't run.
All right, I appreciate it, folks. Coming up next, we'll chat with singer Jody Watley. She's in the house. I'm Roland Martin Unfiltered. Back in a moment. All right, so a lot of y'all always asking me about some of the pocket squares that I wear. Now, Robert don't have one on. Now, I don't particularly like the white pocket squares. I don't like even the silk ones. And so I was reading GQ magazine a number of years ago, and I saw this guy who had this pocket square here, and it looks like a flower. This is called a shibori pocket square. This is how the Japanese manipulate the fabric to create this sort of flower effect. So I'm going to take it out and then place it in my hand so you see what it looks like. And I said, man, this is pretty cool. And so I tracked down, it took me a year to find a company that did it. And so they make these about 47 different colors. And so I love them because, again, as men, we don't have many accessories to wear, so we don't have many options. And so this is really a pretty cool pocket square. Now, what I love about this here is you saw when it's in the pocket, you know, it gives you that flower effect like that. But if I wanted to also, unlike because if I flip it and turn it over, it actually gives me a different type of texture. And so therefore it gives me a different look. So there you go. So if you actually want to get one of these shibori pocket squares, we have them in 47 different colors. All you got to do is go to RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. So it's RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. All you got to do is go to my website and you can actually get this. Now, for those of you who are members of our Bring the Funk fan club, there's a discount for you to get our pocket squares. That's why you also got to be a part of our Bring the Funk fan club. And so that's what we want you to do. And so it's pretty cool. So if you want to jazz your look up, you can do that. In addition, y'all see me with some of the feather pocket squares. My sister, who's a designer, she actually makes these. They're all custom made. So when you also go to the website, you can also order one of the customized feather pocket squares right there at RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. So please do so. And of course, it goes to support the show. And again, if you're a Bring the Funk fan club member, you get a discount. This is why you should join the fan club. All right, speaking of our fan club, folks, everything that you do goes to support this show. Your dollars make it possible for us to be able to do the kind of show that we do 5 days a week live. And, of course, we stream our content 7 days a week. Let me give a shout out. Here's some people here who have joined our fan club who've given $50 or more. Angela Davis, Corey Brown, Deborah Gaston, Don Terrell, Erlene Davis-Lee, Eloise Joseph, Eugene Evans, Evangeline Hunley, Jacqueline Taylor, Janie Johnson, Gio Hendricks, Joan Maliszewski, Josie, Kenneth Darby, Lamar Creole Kitchen, Marie Diane Smith, Mary, Michael Sanders, Molin Music, Monique McCullough, Patricia Ducksworth, Philip Kelton, Phyllis Whiteside, Relax Me, Roy M. DeBose Jr., S. Smith, Samuel Collins, Sharice R. Patillo, Shauna Yeldeld, Tessra Lawson, the styling firm of Atlanta, Thomas Hatton, Tanya Pass Brown, Trent, Trina Lewis Mundy, Vera Joyner, Victor Figueroa. And so we certainly appreciate it. Also, I got, let's see here, Florida Bradley. She just actually sent us something in today, y'all. We are waiting to get Jody on, and so she'll be on shortly. And so we certainly appreciate Florida joining our fan club. She wrote a note. She says, thank you, Mr. Martin, for keeping the people informed during this newsy time. I love your program. Thanks again. Florida Bradley, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I got to get to Myrtle Beach to play some golf. I have talked about it. I've spoken there. I've never played golf. They got fantastic golf courses in Myrtle Beach. All right, y'all, let's see here. Let's see here. They said to Ronald Martin. Patricia Evans, that's not me. I'm Roland. Mr. Martin, I would first like to say thank you for all that you do for the culture. I've learned so much by watching you and your panel of guests educating me on our history. I even bought the Martin Luther King book, Where Do We Go From Here, Chaos or Community. It reminded me of when I lived in South Philly working on the polls. I would like to ask you a question. I live in Virginia now, and I'm not registered to vote here. I used to live in Gainesville, Florida. Can I get a mail-in ballot from there? Yes, you can. And so if you, first of all, here's the deal, Patricia. If you are still registered to vote there, You can, but the reality is you live in Virginia. So Patricia, you should get registered right now in Virginia. That's where you live. And so all you got to do is just do this here. I'm still doing our fan club appeal, folks. But Virginia, I want you to go to my iPad, go to vote.org. So Patricia, if you're watching, I want you to go to vote.org. Go to vote.org, and you can actually check your registration. You can get registered to vote right here. Right here, you can also request a ballot. So you should, since you're living in Virginia now, you should actually get registered in Virginia. You no longer live in Gainesville, Florida, so you should register there. Now, if you still have a home there and that's your homestead, well, you can do that. And so, but again, you should really be registered where you live. And so I want you to do that. Folks, y'all let me know when we got Jody on the line so I can go to her. Let me go right here. I got another letter here. So let's see here. Miriam Woodard. Miriam, I appreciate it. I enjoy your daily Roland Martin Unfiltered show. I'm thankful for your platform that gives us more detailed news than I get on television. I appreciate you want us to be able to continue this wonderful platform. And closes my money order to help and support. And so I certainly appreciate it, Miriam Woodard. Thank you so very much for supporting us. Just a couple of more I'm going to open, y'all. And again, we are getting Jody Watley on the line for our phone conversation. She's got a new project out, and we want to talk to her about that. And so keep up the great work. And this is from, I can't read, y'all. This is from In Person. In Person. I can't read. I cannot read this, y'all, and I'm real good. I cannot make this out. But it's In Person out of Roosevelt, New York. So I certainly appreciate that for your support for the show. Y'all got to do me a favor. Y'all got to spell y'all name out. I can't read some of y'all cursive now. So I appreciate that. Let me see if I can. Man, y'all got this envelope, and you got tape on it. And it's like, I'm going to need to call like getting in a Fort Knox, open up some of y'all envelopes. Y'all want to make sure nobody opens this sucker. I understand. Let's see here. Let's see here. This is from Anita Riggins. Anita Riggins in Tucker, Georgia. I appreciate it, Anita. And let's see here. And finally, who we got here? We got a card here. You sent us a big old card. So let's see here. I'll open this thing up right now. And there are people in our lives who are so genuinely kind-hearted. Appreciating them just comes naturally. Your great media service and caring for our community. God continue to bless you and business. Eunice Tibbs, Huntsville, Alabama. Eunice, I appreciate it. Thank you so very much. Folks, y'all can give Cash App, $RM Unfiltered. You got PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered. You also have Venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. And yeah, you can do like them. You can actually send a money order to New Vision Media, Inc. NU Vision Media, Inc. NU Vision Media, Inc. 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, again, Washington, D.C., 2006. New Vision Media, Inc., 1625 K Street Northwest, Suite 400, Washington, D.C., 2006. Okay, folks, do we have Jody? What's up? What's up? Let me know something. I'm going to do this here. Hey, I told y'all I've been doing commentaries for Black Information Network, iHeart's radio network. Go to my iPad. You can actually go online. You can go to their app. You can listen to those commentaries that are on there. And, of course, our podcast, the Roland Martin Unfiltered audio podcast, you can actually go to get the iHeart Radio app. You can listen to our podcast right there. They are now handling the distribution, the marketing, and the selling of our audio podcast. I still own it. Just y'all care. I own it. But we're partnering with them, so we certainly appreciate that. My commentaries twice a day on the Black Information Network. So there are about 15 or 20 radio stations across the country. So it might be in your local city, but if you want to hear the radio network, just go online. You can listen to the app. You can listen to it online as well. And so please support those particular projects. All right, y'all. You've heard her music. We remember her, of course, in the group Shalimar. She's also been a solo artist. Absolutely fascinating. We enjoy her energy, her spirit. And joining us right now on Roland Martin Unfiltered, the great Jody Watley. What up, Jody?
Hey, what's happening?
How you doing?
I'm great, but after that clip you just showed, we really are needing a healing. My new song, The Healing, I'm just traumatized at the whole thing. I mean, my goodness.
Yeah, well, the thing is, what we're seeing across this country, we're seeing so much dialogue around these issues. We're seeing artists who are using their art to speak to these issues. And so talk about this song.
Well, The Healing is very timely. I mean, clearly with the rise and the openness of brazen racism and all of these senseless killings with police brutality, the whole Black Lives Matter movement. And I was thinking about Elijah McClain today, that we haven't been hearing about those officers. And, Breonna Taylor, the officers still haven't been arrested. And so The Healing, it's a song that I wrote before this pandemic and all of this happened, but it's so timely because it is learning lessons of life and trying to put more love in the world, and living in the now and what we can do to make the future better. And we all need a healing, this earth, this world, these politicians. I mean, it's timely. And it's a groove, too. I always like to make people dance as well.
Of course. So here's what's about to happen, folks. We're going to play you a snippet of the song. Now, so let me explain to y'all what happens with Facebook and YouTube, okay? So just want to give y'all upside. So what happens with Facebook, if we play music and then all of a sudden the record label or someone then puts a copyright strike, they'll immediately stop the stream. So you all of a sudden, you'll see it blocked. So on Facebook, if that happens, I'm just letting y'all know what's about to happen, okay? So
it's my label, so
right. Well, so what happens is even when that happens, so what happens is if they do that, because what happens is their algorithm automatically does it. So and then all we do is we simply respond to them. Yes, here's permission granted to us to be able to play the song, and then it gets lifted, but it immediately stops the stream at that moment. So Facebook, I'm just letting y'all know right now, if that happens, just go to the YouTube channel. Here is Jody Watley, The Healing.
Spring. I don't know who needs to hear this, but it's time. The healing. Healing. It's time for the healing. The healing. Embrace the possibilities of the future. Create more love. Create more peace. Create more abundance in the now. It's what we have. It's what you make of life. Now. It's what we have. Now. It's time. The healing. Healing. It's time for the healing. Now. The healing.
All right, we're going to have that music playing underneath us while we keep talking. So Jody, it's interesting because all these other songs that have come out, they've all been slow and very emotional. But this is upbeat.
Yeah, and the updated video to this, the lyric video, I incorporated photography from the Black Lives Matter protests that were happening here in Los Angeles and the aftermath all around the city of all of these buildings that have Black Lives Matter and from Beverly Hills to Santa Monica to West Hollywood to Mid-Wilshire, which I think they're still up too. And so that one is on YouTube. And so I wanted to, it's important to include that to remind people, and photography with, Breonna Taylor, justice for Breonna Taylor and Elijah McClain. And so the upbeat, like I said, I wrote this before the pandemic, but lyrically it's timely. And really, it could be an inspiration. If I throw a choir on it, we can go to church with it too.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the reality is, I mean, music has always played a huge part when it comes to movements. I mean, if people really study the civil rights movement, I mean, you had the Freedom Singers. I mean, when they were in jail, they songs that kept them together. In Parchman Prison in Mississippi, it was always about songs, and so all across the South that was the case. And so music has played a central role in all of the Black movements we've had.
Absolutely. And even when you think of, as yesterday at the service, the homegoing for, rest in peace, John Lewis, even a song like, We Shall Overcome is really an optimistic song, that is meant to uplift, because even in challenging times, we all need to be inspired. One of the albums growing up, I was living in D.C. actually when the riots happened. And I remember when James Brown came and to calm everything down. And, I was probably only 7 or 8 years old, but I remember it. And Say It Loud, I'm Black and I'm Proud. And so, songs, you're right, they inspire, they motivate at critical times. And, some artists take a different approach. But for me, this one in spoken word, I grew up, I loved Nikki Giovanni and, Angela Davis I was familiar with. And so, all of these things are a part of me as an artist, and I try to incorporate. And like I said, this song right now is just so, I want to inspire people and do the work. It's like, whether you're protesting or donating or working behind the scenes, but we all need to be doing something, and most of all, creating more love. And that is from our presence and our being and what we put out. Because a lot of people putting out hate. So, I'm all about putting out more love and put some action behind it as well.
Let me ask you this here. For you during this moment of this pandemic, it has been very difficult for artists because everything is shut down. I mean, you don't have concerts. You don't have folks are not on the road. They're not traveling. How have you made adjustments when it comes to your work?
First of all, I'm thankful that I'm a songwriter.
There you go.
I own my publishing.
Right, which so folks, for everybody who's listening, what that means is I ain't got to tour to get a check. So when my stuff gets played, a check comes to the crib.
Yes, Jody Wiley music is a blessing from God. And right now, I was just thinking that it's like, oh my gosh, my classics and even my newer songs that don't get as much exposure. When you're an independent artist, as you know, owning your own everything that you do, you may, take the hit because you're investing, and we have to do that, invest in ourselves, but handling the business. And so on the back end of it, I'm very thankful that I've held on to, with songs like Looking for a New Love, Don't You Want Me, Some Kind of Lover, Friends, all my songs. And like I said, owning my own label, I've been able to do deals with all sorts of companies and things that people don't even really know about. So I'm managing. It is. I've taken time off here and there, but this is the first time that to not be looking at doing any concerts anytime soon is kind of a trip because, I've been doing concerts since I was 17. And even though, like I said, taking time off to live life and, have a balanced life, but I have no idea because the concerts will come back flat. Mm-hmm. And so, everybody always, live below your means, not above your means, and always save your money. I remember, at one point along the way, and I was saving, and someone told me, well, saving is for old people. And I remember saying, well, I guess I'll just be old then because I'm going to be saving my money. So remember, people, all the flash and glitter, all that stuff, I like nice things. Don't get me wrong. But, so during this pandemic, I'm really thankful that I've been very modest in my lifestyle.
Well, the thing is, last night, Steve Perry and I had a conversation on Instagram Live. And actually, he and I were talking. And he was like, man, you know what? We need to help some other people with this conversation. And he was like, let's do Instagram Live. And so I'm having, what we're going to do is we're actually going to grab that conversation and then take it off of the stack boxes, put them side by side, and we're going to stream that on my platform. And the whole conversation, it was about ownership. It was about when I turned down a deal to sign with TV One because I knew what I wanted to create, and I also knew that it was a limited opportunity. And I said, this is the moment to do it. And so many people, again, they fall for, like I tell people all the time when they see these announcements of, oh man, so-and-so signed a $50 million record deal. I'm like, no, they didn't. No, that's an advance.
Right.
That's an advance.
You have to pay it back.
Right. And then that was when that was a story about Mary J. Blige that was dealing with the divorce and something like bankruptcy. It was sort of like she still owes the record label $12 million and 3 albums or whatever. And people don't understand that I don't care what it is, you better focus on the business of your business.
Yeah. Absolutely. And even, ironically, last night I was on Twitter and Tamar Braxton, who I'm sending well wishes to, someone retweeted something that she had tweeted out, and it was she felt like a slave to, she didn't own her life, and with the TV deal that they have and everything that's going on with her. But, I tweeted her, I don't know her, but I just said, it's not the end, but lessons learned. And ownership is important, and it's under rated in terms of how people perceive things, being independent. I mean, when we're all starting out, we all go through you have to go through it to learn it. But once you learn the lesson, it's all about ownership and owning what you do, because, number one, the reward of it is so much more. And then you have control over it, from here on out, it's yours.
Right. And when it's yours, first of all, you're not under the pressure. One of the things I tell people all the time is that that debt, I call them invisible shackles. And so what happens is when you don't own, when you don't own, and let's say you're working for someone else, and then you have debt, now all of your decisions are predicated on, man, I can't do this and this because, man, if I lose this thing, then how am I going to pay this? When you talked about living below your means, yeah, oh my goodness, I can't make this decision because if I do, this impacts my money over here. How am I going to pay my mortgage? How am I going to pay my car note? Well, if you did like I did, I paid for my car the moment I bought them. So therefore, I drove off the lot owning them. My house is paid for. I only use a secured credit card that I secured with CDs. So if anything ever happens, well, the CDs already will pay off the balance of that particular card. And so that completely, and this is after filing for bankruptcy because I had no health care. My appendix ruptured in 2000 and then almost got the house foreclosed on. And 70% of the people who file bankruptcy is because of health care. But the whole point there, I've been able to make the independent decisions to own my own stuff because by having no debt, I now have freedom to make those decisions.
Right. No, one of the impactful books that I read along the way was a book called Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I read that book probably 20 years ago. And I learned so much. It was so practical, from real estate and just everything, good debt, bad debt, not being in debt, all of those things. And, and so the principles that you mentioned is true. And people they get so caught up in the things that don't really matter or trying to impress people that in the end, if you lose it all, they won't be there for you, so it's best to, while other people are running their mouths, run your business. I think that is always great advice, and ownership is key in giving you and especially in the entertainment business, because as we can see, I mean, film and TV and everything, and things are so cyclical, and you find out people don't really care about you. No one will care about you as much as you will yourself. So handle your business.
Yeah, and the thing is, so what you said about the songwriting piece, if we look at history, Sam Cooke understood that, but he still got swindled out of that by his president. So that's also in terms of how you're trusting people to make sure. What ended up happening in his case, he owned his stuff. But this guy structured the deal where Sam essentially was working for him. So many other songwriters, and Ray Charles said, "Own your masters." Prince was trying to get a lot of artists to understand when he got out of the Warner Brothers deal why it was important. Same thing. Chance the Rapper, when he does deals now where he's independent, he only does distribution deals. He's like, no, I don't need y'all for that. In fact, I'm actually working on a book deal, and we almost finished negotiating that book deal. And the initial terms, when I saw it, and I was kind of like, I'm sorry, this is a distribution deal. I don't need to pay X percent for that, because I don't need them for that. And that's the thing that so many people get so caught up. And I think, to be perfectly honest, Jody, I think that they want to get caught up in the hype without realizing that hype lasts that long. And to your point, like a situation like this here, you sit at the crib doing this right here. Cha-ching.
Yes.
Cha-ching, cha-ching. Well, other folk trying to do virtual concerts, they trying to sell stuff, because their whole livelihood is really based upon still performing, which is why it's hard to see some entertainers who are 70, 75, 80 still having to hit the road hard, because that's the only way they can make a living.
Right. And, and that's very true, and I've always been of the philosophy, once it's a blessing to continue to be creative and to release music and do what I love and all of that. And touring has always been, it's like I do it when I want to do it. I love to do it, but it's not like I have to do it. And there's a definite freedom in that, because you're right. It's like you don't want to be 70 and 65 and you have to do it. And so, coming up with other ways, even with my merchandise, owning myself. And if I want to I'm doing an interior sanctuary since we're spending so much time at home, and I believe in being chill and everything. It's like I don't have to pay somebody because I did a bad 360 deal or something like that.
Right.
I'm not going to see the money because they advanced it to me forever ago, and now, or T-shirts or whatever it is. And so it's very artists. I always, since I've been a solo artist, I've always said, because I learned a lot as a teenager, started in the business and going through that whole thing, but learn the business in anything.
Yep.
Learn business.
Yep.
My son just graduated, he has a finance degree, and he is very much always been about research and, planning, preparation, and being, organized with what it is you're doing, and prudent about, budgets and all that, things that people, they just spend, it just, it sounds boring, but it really, if you learn those principles at a young age, and I instill both that in both my daughter and son, then when they become adult, and of course, everybody's going to have their splurges, and then it's like, oh gosh, but, you really have to be prudent. And in this day and age, and with the unpredictability of what's going on right now, I know a lot of people are suffering. I feel for, my musicians and
right.
Just
it's a whole ecosystem. It's not just the artists. You're talking about the band people, the band members, the tour manager, the personnel support, all of the people who handle audio, folks who handle video, the people who hang the lights and the cables. None of those people are working.
Yeah. And I don't think people, because they look at artists, it's like everything is just like poof, and you're just there. And it's like, but there's so much that goes into it. And there's so many people, even, that we're responsible for, like you said, all of the staff and everybody. So everyone's been impacted from, even with sports, with the NBA being back, all those vendors and concession workers and all those people, out of work. And so, again, I hope that we will all make it through this, but it's not losing the faith, and just, hanging in there.
Indeed. Indeed. Well, folks, we appreciate you being with us. Folks, the song is called The Healing. Check it out. Download it. You can watch that video on YouTube as well. Jody, go ahead with your fan. Go ahead. I saw you with the fan.
You got me sweating, Roland.
This ain't heavy lifting. This ain't heavy lifting. And so I take it, if somebody want a Jody Watley fan, where do they go?
Right here.
I know you selling the fans.
Yes.
Yeah.
The fans. This one is custom. That was for me. But yeah, fans. I got the whole collection coming. The hoop, the whole bit.
Where do they go? Where do they go?
Jody Watley Connection. Everything you can link up to it at jodywatley.net. It has my boutique link and all my social media and everything. And also some of the merchandise on my YouTube channel, just like on your channel. And
yep.
People support Roland, buy some stuff, and then go to Jody Watley and buy some stuff because we are independent, we're Black owned, and we're doing it for ourselves. And, the likes and comments are nice, but, it's nice when you also support.
That's right. Likes, comments, and shares do not pay the bills. And so we appreciate that, but absolutely, that's why it matters. And the thing that I also explain to people, when you are independent, when you are Black owned, you have an opportunity to help other people as well, and that's what matters. And so it goes beyond just one individual. I mean, I've got 10 employees. We want to be able to grow. We want to have 10 more employees and then 10 more employees. And so we would love to be able to have the size of a staff of the New York Times or the Wall Street Journal or CNN, but that only happens when, one, folks continue to watch, numbers continue to go up, and we're able to get those advertising dollars to be able to build and grow capacity. And that's what it boils down to. But it's important to, again, learn the business of your business. There are a lot of people in this thing for the hype, and they say, oh, my God, people see you and they stop you in airports. I'm like, yeah, that's all great and well. But if you don't learn the business side of that, you will be left stranded trying to figure out, what did I do for 20, 30 years being on somebody else's network, being on somebody else's station, or in your case, being on a label? What happens when they say, we're done? A lot of people we know are stuck having no idea where to go because they thought, or their entire validation was caught up in, I'm so-and-so with this label, or I'm so-and-so with this network, as opposed to saying, no, I'm so-and-so. I don't need something at the end of my name to determine my validation.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like, in the healing, it's like when I say wattage, it's like, remember that, you have a light. And our experiences, sometimes people feel other people will make you feel your light has gone out. But, like you said, if you are the captain of your ship, no matter what your job or profession, you have to keep it going and believe that and handle your business. No one is going to handle it like you will. And then you don't want to, especially, as time goes on, be beholden to anyone and have just, out of pocket, as my dad used to say. You don't want to be out of pocket or in a trick bag.
You do not. Jody Watley, we appreciate it. Good to see you. Normally, I'm responding to you in Club Quarantine with D Nice or seeing you on social media. Great to have you on the show. And so good luck in all that you're doing.
Thank you. Love you.
Love you, darling. I appreciate it. Thanks a bunch. All right, folks, that is it for us. Do this here. Here we zoom out. So today's shirt I am wearing is the I Am a Man shirt that, of course, this is what the Memphis sanitation workers wore in 1968 when 1,100 brothers, when they went on strike. Dr. King, of course, was there to help them and celebrate them. And so they were carrying the placards, I am a man. Well, I went to the National Civil Rights Museum, and this is where I was able to, I got this shirt. And so if you want to get this shirt as well, all you got to do is go to civilrightsmuseum.org, civilrightsmuseum.org. No, they're not paying me to do this here, but I believe in supporting what they do. This is the website. Go to it, please. Henry, this is their site. right here, Civil Rights Museum. And then, of course, you can click shop, and then it will take you to the various shirts as well as the products you can get there. They've got, of course, Black Lives Matter shirt right there. Let me click apparel. And so you see their Malcolm X shirt. And then this is their I Have a Man shirt, $21.99 right there. They also have a hat as well. And so we believe in supporting our institutions. It's important for them to still exist. Folks, thank you so very much. We always end the show on Friday rolling the credits of all of our fan club members. And look, Jonathan Slocum hit me last week. He was like, man, he said, you run it too fast. I said, Jonathan, it's more than 10,000 names. We can't run that thing slow. I'll see y'all on Monday.